Okay, I know you see this. It says I'm an alt-rightist, and I'm not an alt-rightist, by the way. But do you see all of the different opinions and the ideology that people will stand behind? Those are some of the sites that they tune into that support the ideas that they believe in. And I just think that a lot of this, I really believe that a lot of this was already there in these individuals to believe this type of stuff. And you know, for example, like a preschool classroom, or kids that are in first and second grade, you know, they're learning language, they're learning the world and what is around them. And if you observe kids, even kids, they'll make fun of each other, they can be cruel, make fun of each other's hair. They're aware of the differences, they become aware of that. They begin to learn that people have accents and they talk differently. Sometimes they'll pick up on the accents, or maybe they'll pick up things from home, things that they've seen on TV or what they've heard their parents say, and then they bring it to school. Even how they interact with their brothers and sisters at home. And if they're picked on and they're treated like the outcast at home, then they go to school, and if they're the tallest one in the class, they then exert that same bully culture, and then they exhibit that on their classmates who are shorter than them or smaller, or they feel as might be inferior to some degree, like weaker than them. And a lot of the same behaviors and mentality, people grow up with that. Bullying, teasing, making fun of people. You know, if you have a difference of opinion, hurting one another because somebody doesn't believe the same things that you believe, casting people out, ostracizing people. And a lot of times people will just tend to grow up with some of those same attitudes. And it's crazy because some people never really grow up. And it took me a while to learn that this mentality is out there even in adults. Even adults who, they might have been to college, they might have studied certain subject matter, but the character of the individual, that's a whole different thing altogether. And that person, they may be smart and intelligent, maybe in books, but in terms of being intelligent about befriending people or connecting with people, making wise decisions on who not to judge, and you know, getting to know people for who they are individually. People are not smart about that, because I believe it's fear. There's a lot of fear, there's hatred, and there's a lot of stereotypes, and a lot of that will keep people from getting to know other individuals. And then too, there's fear of people wanting to say, they want to say things that they've learned, or maybe that they suspect is happening, but they're afraid to say it because they're in a room. Maybe, for example, you're a black person in your room full of Mexican people, and maybe in your neighborhood you live around maybe more white or Hispanic, and you see a lot of crime being done, but it's not black people doing it, it's white and Hispanic, or a lot of Hispanic people shooting and killing and in gangs and writing all on the walls. You don't really see black people doing that much anymore. But in your neighborhood, you see, they always tell you on the news, they show you Chicago, because they're showing you a neighborhood where there's a lot of blacks, but in your neighborhood there isn't a lot of blacks. There is blacks, but you don't see them doing that. They're going to work, they're going to school, they're going to college, or they stay to themselves primarily. You don't really see too much activity. Fairly one occasion, but the major body of activity that is going on is in Hispanic gangs. And that's what you are exposed to, what you see in your neighborhood. So when you're in different environments, you may see different things. And so when you see these news stations that are talking all about one group of individual, you start to think to yourself, wait a minute, I'm not saying that blacks aren't killing blacks, but it isn't happening in my neighborhood. I see Hispanic people killing Hispanic people, or whites killing whites. Or I see, whites, that are hurting other whites. I see, Mexican people shooting other Mexican people. I see more other crimes happening of other cultures than I do blacks in my neighborhood. Now, maybe that is true happening in Chicago. Maybe that is happening out there, but that's not happening in my neighborhood. The writing on the wall that I see is not black people writing on the wall. It's Mexican gangs writing on the wall because they're leaving Mexican symbols. And so these are the things that when you see these alt-right groups, they don't think like that. They want you to think that only other people from one particular group especially is doing stuff that is negative. Now, the sick part about all of this stuff is that some of the very people who that alt-right people are against, they may not have had even really had any experiences. They had maybe not even really sat down and had a cup of coffee or had lunch with them, or met the families of individuals that they claim that they are against. And so that's the sad part. And it's the same thing with other people in other places. I feel like there's crime everywhere. Maybe more crime in other places than other places. I feel like every culture is got, a band of, criminals, a group of criminals, no matter what the race or ethnicity. That's my opinion. I've seen white criminals, I've seen Hispanic criminals, I've seen black criminals, I've seen Asian criminals, Russian criminals. I feel like in every culture, Filipino criminals, I feel like in every culture there's gonna be people who are capable of committing, unlawful acts and unlawful acts of violence. So I don't attribute it to just one group of individuals. So I feel it's unfair to label people based on, to say, oh, it's their race doing it. Now, the one thing I will say, that now this could be an opinion, is that I feel like I notice that when there's a large number of one ethnicity, sometimes that group won't get along with one another and they begin to turn against each other and become violent, because now there's no fair share of competition. There's nobody else there in the neighborhood to fight with. So it's just, you're looking at the same people, and so then you become competitive with one another. And it could be a good thing or it could be a negative thing. And if you're all involved in, if there's a group of people involved in criminal activity and there's no good schools, there's no good jobs, there's no high hopes for expectation to do better, then you have this bully culture mentality where everybody begins to compete with one another and they turn against each other. That could be some of the reason why some of that stuff is happening in Chicago. There's the spike in the gang violence, because with gang violence, gangs are different than what they used to be. It was like you have a group of young guys and they're looking for an outlet, and they wind up finding an outlet, but it's not in the best ways, not positive. It turns negative. And now you have it where it's similar, but it's over money, it's over women, it's over drugs. And when you get young guys and they're competing, who's the best drug dealer, who's controlling what neighborhood, it becomes a game of Russian roulette, where You know, you win or you lose, and survival of the fittest in the street. And no matter what background or culture you're from, if you're in an environment where all of you are in the same neighborhood and you grew up from the same background, but now you're desperate for money and you're desperate for power, and you turn on each other and become violent, especially if you feel like there's no hope. And so I believe that that could have a lot to do with it. You know, everybody's competing for the same money, the same notoriety in the streets. They're competing for, you know, popularity, for dope, drugs, you know, sales, customers. You know, if you really have watched some of the documentaries, some of the movies, even there's movies where you'll see how drug dealers in gangs can become vicious towards one another, and they turn against each other. So that's why you'll have the high crime of shooting and homicide, you know, and the gangs, you know, rivaling gangs, because this has now become a business thing, you know, where, you know, you're stepping in on my business, you're taking my customers, you're invading my territory, so I have to put you down. And that's their mentality. I'm just saying that's the way they think. And so, you know, like, we're in America and capitalism is about money. And so you've got young people, if they can't compete in a positive way, then they're going to compete in a negative way. And that's just you know, it's a part of life. And it's not saying that it's right, but that's what's going to happen. And it can happen in any culture. And I believe that's what's happening even in California. You know, we have all the gangs, the cartels, you know, they figured a way out. They figured a way of how to bully. It's a bully culture, survival of the fittest. It's like, okay, we're going to get ours. You know, okay, we'll pay you. We got the money, you know, for you to be quiet and turn your back and not look at what's going to happen on this street. You know, we've got the money to pay the cops off. We got the money. We can get in there. We got people that work up in there with you. We've got the money to make them be quiet. So, you know, this is what's going on. It's gone on in Mexico. The same corruption, the same thing is going on here. And see, it's already out here. See, what the politicians are not telling people is that the cartels are here. And that's where they get that whole concept of that wall thing. And see, what irks me is that you have these races there. I'm just be honest. You know, people are afraid to say this because they feel, well, there's a lot of them Hispanic. You can offend them and all this. You know, like they offend us all the time with the N-word. You know, riding around playing the rap music. You know, talking about black people, saying, you know, being bullies. Let's just be honest here. You see writing on the wall, you see graffiti, you see the killings. It's happening in California with Hispanic gangs. They kill each other. They don't care about you being Mexican. You could be Mexican, both Mexican. You hate each other because you're stepping in on somebody's business, somebody's territory, somebody's money. You're cheating with somebody's woman, sleeping with somebody's girlfriend. They're going to kill you. And that's the way they think. All cultures do it. Not just saying it's just one group. And that's the way this world is about money. That's what's running it. It's sad, but it's true. So, you know, people come here with this whole idea, I want a better life and I want a house with a white picket fence and stuff. That doesn't happen for everybody the same way. So when people feel desperate and they feel like they got to figure out a way to get it, they're going to do it by any means necessary, even if it means that they got to step on the toes of people who might look like them. And so this is what is happening. And see, this it's sad because that November election that we had, you know, it just proves that you see all of the hatred and all the bitterness and all the anger coming out in places you wouldn't even believe. You think that going to church or going to a Bible would be the least of your worries. You know, you could trust, you know, okay, if I can't find anybody that I could agree to disagree on some of the issues that I stand on, whether they're political, non-political, whether it's about not being religious or religious. You can't, you know, there's no middle ground anywhere. It's either or, and people are like that. You know, you'll find people who won't agree on anything. They can't get along with anyone to save their life. You can't find somebody that can be middle ground, that can agree to disagree. You know, I understand your point, but I disagree. You know, but I respect you. You hardly find people like that. And of all places, you would have thought that you could go to a church as a safe haven and you could believe and trust that, you know, at least I can get a place of refuge, you know, where they'll understand me on my issues, whether they're political or not or whatever. And they probably are, because every issue you have is going to be somewhere where politics is involved in it. And so, like with the gay issue, you know, you may not even be gay yourself, or maybe you are, but maybe you're not like what people stereotype gay people to be. You know, they stereotype gays to be, you know, they got AIDS, they sleep around, they're sleeping with everybody, they're trying to recruit people to be gay. They're, you know, they have a gay agenda. They want everybody to be gay. I hate gay people, you know. So, you know, some of these people that are doing this, they don't even know anybody gay. They haven't had a relationship to know anybody who's gay. Or maybe they know somebody gay, but they don't know enough about them, so they've already placed judgment and condemned these people. They pretty much put them at the stake and burned them alive, verbally and emotionally and socially. And so it's like they won't even give people a chance. They won't even get to know somebody. And black folks are really notorious for putting people down, just even if you're not gay. But if you're gay, oh my God. You know, it just covers all of their iniquities, and then you would just focus on gay folks. And see, some of this is coming from the church. Most of it is coming from the church. But then some of this also is coming from, let's be honest, there are some gay people that are or have done things that haven't been the best things. They haven't made the best decisions. But a lot of that has come with being afraid to come out and admit that they were gay. So they went underground and they slept around and they did things behind their wives, and they couldn't come out and be themselves. And so they've gotten themselves afflicted with some illness because they weren't honest, or they couldn't wait. They couldn't just be single. And don't mess around, because the risk is high, because you've got so many people who want to be themselves but they can't, or they can't be honest. They don't feel comfortable yet coming out of the closet and being who they are, because they have a fear that they're going to be rejected from their families, kicked out. We've heard those stories. Those of you that haven't, some people have gotten kicked out, ostracized from their family, cut off from the family will, all kinds of stuff. So it's hard. People can't just come out just like that. It's a process. It's not easy. Some people still haven't come out all the way. They might have partially come out to some people. You don't even feel comfortable telling your employers because you're afraid you're going to lose your job, even if it's in a state that's protected. So, you know, you wouldn't believe some of the hatred that comes out of some of these families, you know, and it's crazy. And some of these people known all their lives, well, I think sister so-and-so is gay, or so brother so-and-so is gay. But they are in denial. The family members are in denial, or the friends are in denial, or the friends that suspected it, but they just don't say anything. And or you use them to sing in your church and your choirs, or for other, you know, events. Do your hair and all this, and tell you what kind of clothes to wear, and all these things like that, you know. It might sound like stereotyping, but I'm just saying these are positive things. But, you know, doing your hair, wearing what kind of clothes, singing in the church. But I'm just saying, but a lot of times gay people are the ones you see doing that, and they won't admit, you know, that we've been using these people, but we always knew they were gay, you know. So it's crazy, and it's crazy, and it's like you find a lot of hate coming from out of these churches. And it makes people, it turns them off. It makes them not want to even go to church anymore. You know, you might not even be gay, but you just don't like the hate that's coming from out of these churches, you know, on these issues. And now you're also finding out that people are trying to find out the status of these churches, because they do want the churches to preach hate against gays. They do want them. Let's start talking about how you hate gays. And it's crazy because really I feel like that's targeting people to deflect from your issues, the things that you're not doing. These people could have, they could not be gay and be in a, have a wife or husband. They could be cheating, going to, strip clubs, sleeping around. They might have diseases they're passing around. They may not be gay, but they're doing the same stuff that they're incriminating gay people for doing. They're doing some of the same things. I've seen people who are straight that have caught AIDS having heterosexual regular sex, man and woman sex, and they've caught diseases, some diseases that they had to live with that they may not can get rid of. And people don't say this. So I'm about to say what's the truth here. It's real. This is what's happening in society, and people don't want to talk about it. Some people are just, their whole thing is about hating others to deflect from the problems that are going on in their own lives. And it's unfair. We have violence, people discriminating each other, being bigot, prejudice. People, showing how much they hate. There's ways to show your hate without hurting other people. Firing them, making up dumb excuses to fire people from jobs or get them fired. Turning co-workers against other people because they don't look or do the same things that you do or believe in the same beliefs. Some people might not even like it because you say you're atheist. We got people hating atheists. Maybe they don't want to go to church. Look at all the hateful things that some people that so-called Christians claim that they're so-called Christians. They're doing hateful stuff out there. Hurting other people. Making comments that this is funny to see what happened in Orlando with all that shooting at the gay club. Okay, you don't have to like the gay lifestyle. You may not be gay, you may not agree with it, but you don't have to be so evil and hateful. That doesn't make it right. Then there's this hate that people got out there. They hate women, or they hate black women, or they hate black men, or they hate interracial couples, or they hate gays, or they hate lesbians, or they hate black females, or they hate white females, and all this. There's just so much stuff going on. Everybody's hurting each other and abusing each other. It's everywhere. And where does this come from? None other than it started from that election. It just seems like the more that you look at this pivotal election and the outcome, it brought out so much hate, especially the gender wars, male versus female. Oh my goodness, people did not want a woman president. What is wrong? All these years, every 8 years, there's a man in office elected. What's wrong with having a female president? What is she going to do? And then just some of the hateful memes that are out there. You get to see a lot of hate towards just women in general. And you're not treated fair. And I noticed that just this year, and 2016 has been a telling year. People who claim they're religious and they love their wives and all this, but they're the same people online talking about how much they hate Hillary Clinton. But what they're not telling you is they hate a woman being elected president. They don't want to see that happen. There's a change. Oh no, men can't be in control anymore? Oh heck no. So they want to hurry up and get that fixed right away. Now I'm hearing that they're mad at Donald Trump because if the alt-right is saying, or threatening, in other words, if he doesn't do anything that he wants from their immigration situation and from all of the other issues by white standards, that they're threatening they're going to have a revolt. I want to see what that's going to turn up like, because I'm wondering what neighborhood they're going to go to start that. I'm really seriously considering, looking into that. Like, what neighborhood are they going to do this revolt at? Is it going to be Beverly Hills? Where is it going to be? Because I'm wondering. So you see, we got the issue with gangs, we got the issue of immigration, we got so many different issues we're looking at here, and hating women, all these different issues. People come in here, yes, there are people, terrorism, people, you don't know who's coming, you don't know who's a criminal and who's not. Let's just be honest here. We don't know who these people are. We really don't. We are not sure who everyone is. Now, it's wrong for some of the things that maybe Donald might have said. It may have come out wrong. But it is true. We really don't know who is coming. We could end up getting more gangs. It could be white gangs. They could be Hispanic gangs. It could be black gangs. It could be a terrorist group. It could be an extremist group. We already got problems with that happening already here. And as far as I'm concerned, I believe the cartel's already here. Because in California, you see a lot of tire shops on every corner. Shady people going in and out of these car shops. Cars that aren't even being sold. They just kind of sit on the lot. You don't never see them being moved. And then there are people that just come. They just want to take advantage. Just be honest, there are people that come from other places and they want to take advantage. If they figure that they can get something free, and if they fit the description of the people who can benefit for getting something free, then they're going to go for it. They'll tell me, what person wouldn't like to get something free if they didn't have to work for it? It's not good, but people do it. There are some that do it. And if they feel, well, I could just say I'm coming from an impoverished country and I'm fleeing violence and I'm here of a fault of not my own, and I'm getting my free stuff and never work, just accept all of the handouts. There are some people that's all they're about, and they're not trying to lift themselves up. And then you got this Black Lives Matter, and I support some of it, but what I don't like is these people that are radical, that jump on the coattail of this movement, and they claim that only black guys are getting killed. There are black women getting murdered and gunned down by police and other means of violence. And then there's violent people within the black community that hurt one another. Women hurting other black women, black guys killing other black guys. You're not pro-black if you're talking about black women and talking about how you hate black women. You got here because some black woman had you. So if you're pro-black, then you can't be disrespectful of the one that birthed you and brought you here. So that right there tell you right there you're not pro-black. And you see this writing on the streets and on the freeways. Just be honest. We know who's doing this. This is not in a black community. This is in a community that's primarily Hispanic. There's Mexican people that there's some of them that are in gangs. Well, I won't even say some. There's a large percentage in California. There's Mexican mafia. There are gangs, gangbangers. Gang culture, bully culture mentality. It's in there. Taxpayers got to pay for this stuff to be cleaned up. And there are racist Mexicans. I've run into several of them. I don't know where this comes from, but I believe they've been gassed up from, and I'll tell you, let me be honest, from this right here. When they told Hispanic people that you can claim white on the census, they claim white and they claim it on their applications. They're just as racist as some of these people that are white that voted for Trump. Yet they don't like Trump. They don't want to hear you say anything bad about Hispanic people, but those are the same people that they want to be like. Why would you want to be like this? And those are the people that are saying they want to get you out of here. They want to build some type of structure to keep you from coming. You know why? Because you're now impeding on their opportunities of getting employment. That's what it is. They're not being honest. They're not coming out and saying that's what it is. Just be honest. Okay, so then you have these people who they don't want to be your friend anymore because you're admitting your political positions and your views. You know what? if you're going to let that be a stumbling block, then we were never friends to begin with. Because I'm honest about, you know, whether you're Republican or Democrat or whatever, or you don't want to be a part of none of it. But anyway, hopefully we'll have a better year, but I have a feeling there'll be more to come. But that, for now, is my year-end rant. I just wanted to tell it like it is, and whether people like it or not, take care.